Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidrishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 51st Sutra, we go by. Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam Mukha Swadanavatu Prakashate Kwapi Patre Gunarahitam Kamanarahitam Pratikshana Varthamanam Avichinna Sukshmataram Anubhavarupam. These are the sutras. In fact, one more sutra also is there, 55th Sutra. Tad prapya tadeva avalokayati tadeva shrunoti tadeva bhashayati tadeva chintayati. Anirvachaniyam Premaswaroopam. You have to be very careful in trying to understand that, because Narada Bhakti Sutras is writing the sutras on Bhakti. And you would expect that he would say Anirvachaniyam Bhakti Swaroopam. But he said Premaswaroopam. That means he consciously wanted to mean it to be Prema, not Bhakti. Because unless until that you understand this at the Prema level, these things, then it percolates onto the Bhakti. As I said, Bhakti, last time also said that Prema is the Janani for Bhakti. Bhakti is Janani for God. So we think the other way around, but this is where we need to really understand it clearly, because people still get caught up with that idea that Bhakti means it is your love for God. You want to talk about God. In fact, somebody was saying that, look, you have already covered about 50 sutras that you never talked about God. And you are talking about Bhakti Yoga sutras. So we are so caught up in that. It is like this actually. The whole of Patanjali Yoga Sutras I have given, I never talked about asanas so much. Whereas yoga means asanas. And you never talked about asanas, and you gave the whole talk of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. That means basically asanas are just only a practical manifested level aspect of it, certain aspect of it. It's not all that. It is necessary, but the philosophy is something which is so extraordinary. Like the way that asanas, when you look at it, is like the simple wave on the ocean. Whereas the depth of the ocean is what is basically Patanjali Yoga Sutras. While describing about Yoga Sutras, that's what I said. The same way, going to the temple, doing the puja, these are the things which are like the waves in the water. And that we have seen one sutra about that. One or two sutras, and be done with that. Beyond that, Narada did not go into the elaboration of that. Puja Deshu Anuragate. There also, he says one of the aspects is puja, Adi, all the other things. I have elaborated so that people will be satisfied with that. Otherwise, Narada spent only half a line on that. So, and then puja itself, I got suggesting, he never mentioned about God also anywhere. So therefore, that it becomes unimportant in that sense. But you mean to say that God is unimportant? It's not unimportant in that way. God is very personal. It's up to you. So therefore, essentially, that the aspect that is there in the puja aspect, in the puja aspect of the puja, is what Narada described about it. So he did not go into the God. Now you can put any God in that. You can put Devi. The last week you could put some Krishna, and somewhere else that you can put Rama. So something like that, you can put anything, that is fine. And What is really important is the Anuraga, that's what is important. Puja Adishu, Anuraga Yati. That's what basically Narada wanted us to have it. And he elaborated on that aspect of it, because that Anuraga aspect, whatever that is there in the puja, is something which is connected with the previous, all the sutras and the later preceding sutras also, it is connected with that. The same way, what is that which connects with all those things is the Anuraga when you take it. The Anuraga aspect of it is what is basically the Prema. So now he is going into that aspect of Prema. That's why he says, Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam. Now, after 50 sutras talking about all this Parama Prema, etc., all those things. Now, 51st sutra, he says that Anirvachaniyam. That means what is that you have said is so far is does it not give any explanation? No, it cannot give any explanation. That's why Nirvachana not being there is what is Premaswaroopam. Why he said that? That means all these things he already talked about it. He spent so much time on that. Now he says that Anirvachaniyam so that it makes sense to you. That means to say, whatever that we have talked about from the point of view of intellect, analysis, these, that, all those things, they're at one level. But the experience of love is something which is at a different level. Prema Swarupa is there in the experience. Premaswaroopam is in the experience, and the words cannot reach that. So there are, because words is the only means to it, through that you communicate. All the other senses, they put the information, they take the information within. Your mouth is the only instrument through which that you communicate to the world information outside. That's why last time I talked about how what you talk is something which is very important. What is the matra, balam, sama, santan, all these things are important to see that how you communicate. And if you don't understand what is there behind, then what happens is all these other things which are there, the communication, they become like rituals. They become rituals. And the rituals are very mechanical, materialistic. It is not going beyond. And that is also in the first class where I said that your anubhava, that means to say your bhavana, is something which is so close to the divinity, and then much far later is intellect and other things. How best that you can do is at the intellect level. So this is what is nirvachana, is at the intellect level. Anirvachana is any amount of intellect and mind and senses that you use it, it cannot give justification to what is your experience. Because prema is an experience. And experience belongs to the bhavana. Bhavana is your experience. Whereas all other things belong to the intellect level and then below that. And is so far in. Why about these things? Even the normal, simple level that we say that there is such a big gap between the experience and the expression. The normal course of time also, that there is such a big gap between the experience and expression to it. They give the expression to it. You fail to give an expression to experience that you have, however you try. A poet has such an extraordinary, wonderful experience, and he has a feeling inside. And by the time he gives an expression, he will not be satisfied. That's why last time I said, Rabindranath Tagore wrote all those things. I said, I'm not satisfied with that. There's a very nice story that happened in the Rabindranath Tagore's case. Very beautiful. That is, he wrote Gitanjali and it's translated English, and English work also is so extraordinary. You feel like reading again and again and again. That's the kind of literature that he has given. And he got Nobel Prize for that. And Yeats has given such an extraordinary, wonderful note on that. All that happened. But then there's one fellow who is very senior person that was staying in the same road where Tagore was there. And then every time that Tagore goes to him, he says that, look, I'm not satisfied because that you have not yet, I don't see that you don't have that experience. He thought that I got Nobel Prize. I don't care for that. But then it's not. See, he feels so dejected every time goes to him. Every other person praises him because he got those things, but this fellow is somebody who never praises him. He said, but then you have capacity. One day you will do that. You will have that experience. He says that. But then when will it happen? See, you might, 1,000 people might praise you, but if one person who you value does not praise you, then that will be lingering in your mind. That you always feel that is something which is missing. So he's just feeling very bad. So when can I convince him that I did something nice? One day it so happened that he went to the lake and looking at the setting sun, and the lake, there will be waves on that, and the waves reflecting the sunlight sparkles like that. And when he saw that, suddenly he found every sparkle is nothing but the whole sun itself. He said it's not one sun. He saw billions of sun in the water. Everything was sun and everything is like. He says, wow. Suddenly it occurred to him at that moment, that is the experience that he had, that God himself has become the whole creation. And that is what there in his expression, in his poems, that was there. Here and there glimpses were there. Wow, this is what he was saying, that I didn't have an experience. Now I see that I have an experience. How I can courageously, I can happily, I can joyfully go to him blissfully and tell him that, look, I have gone through that experience. They rushed to that person. And there were a lot of people who were crowded in their house, and then even there, they found out that person died. So, but to go and realize that that was the expression that he was asking for, and now he has that. There's another case also, Buddha's case also, it happened like that. Buddha's disciple was there with him. And he was constantly closely associated with him. And Govinda. And he always used to say that, look, you helped everybody, but you did not really make me to get that samadhi experience and all those things. Is that you will also have some time. Then last, what happened was that the Buddha was sick, and then he sent him out for medicines of the other. And he said actually at that moment, when you are not there, that it will happen. That it will happen when you are not there now. Because I'm not going to give it. It will happen to you. He went out to get the medicine, came back. By the time Buddha died, but then he realized. At that moment, experience happened. That experience that happens is something which is absolutely beyond all the levels of material content. That's what it is. So there's a gap between that experience and the expression. And what is that you experienced? Can you give an expression? You can't give an expression again. Okay? Buddha talked and talked and talked for 40 years in his life, but he never communicated what he talked. He said that whatever that he had, the experiences beyond what he talked. Anirvachhaniyam. So in all these cases, it is like the way that what is that experience that it is so, the experience is like the way that you are small little cup and the whole ocean comes into that cup. And what must be the feeling of that cup when something like that comes? It is overwhelming is a very simple word to talk about it. You are overwhelmed with that experience of prema. Prema experiences like that. You are overwhelmed. And therefore that you cannot express, give an expression to that. I always say that even a person, normal person also, that experience inside is something which is so much more than the expression that you give. Understanding inside is so much more than the expression that you give. That's why I always give a very simple example saying that in the exam that you get 35% of person marks, that you are passed. That means your expression is only 35% of what you know. You know much more than that, so much more than that. So that is what is the assessment. It is like that. The same way that when I say that when a person understands the and they give an expression to it. There's such a big gap. That's the reason when somebody is in coma, don't talk negative in front of him, don't talk anything in front of him, because that whatever you are talking is going into him. His perception is something which is 100 times more than his expression. He might not say anything, might not be expressing.
They are listening.
Yes, they're listening, and it is making sense to them. And I've seen many times that even the doctors standing by the side of the patient who is lying down on the, oxygen, this and that, and all those things, he is not unconscious, he's actually conscious, actually. And then they're talking as if that is a dead body, saying that, the blood is going down and up, and this is not happening, that's not. And this, I think this is a hopeless level of, all these things are, that fellow is still alive. So I said that anything that you would like to talk about him, go outside and talk to him, talk about him. Don't talk in front of him, because you're only giving him negative impressions about that. Because basically that his perception is, his experience is 100 times more than what your expression is. Expression is not there, does not mean experience is not there. Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam. Prema belongs to experience. It cannot belong to expression.
What is Nirvachana?
Nirvachana. Vachana means actually words. Nirvachana. It cannot be bound by words.
So
Words are limited.
Without
It cannot be experienced, explicitly. You cannot write a book on that. Experience of prema.
cannot be
Yeah.
expressed.
Nirvachana means I can give
Intellect level is that.
intellectual level, I can give an explanation to that. Like for example, the other day that was there, that what is the experiment that is done in the tunnel? Yes, all that you can write down in the formula and say that this satisfactory, this satisfactory, this satisfactory, 100 tests are satisfactory. Therefore, Chandrayaan will be successful. So this is Vachana, Nirvachana. Anirvachana is you cannot explain this. It is something which is beyond that.
It has to be experienced.
It can only be experienced. See, I mean, even the tunnel experiment,
Express. Correct.
you cannot express. See, unless, even the tunnel experiment also,
Yeah.
all right, they have done all the studies and everything. Everybody said that, yes, it is safe. Chandrayaan will go, and then that buggy will go, and then move. Everything is clear. They have done, everything was there in front of it. In spite of it, he went to the temple and prayed.
In fact, they went to Tirupati also.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Why did they go? Because experience that it landed is something which is so far beyond expression.
So that means his expression wrong.
No, expression is limited. Why expression is limited also I'll give you that, as I said, your senses function not because the senses perceive, but the senses limit the perception, that's why you perceive. Earlier also I said.
That lander, which was landing on the south pole, was only Anirvachhaniyam.
Yes, the experience of landing on the moon.
Because they were all waiting. They may not land until it lands. It's not possible.
Right. That ecstasy at that time, you could have seen whether it is them or whether it is Prime Minister sitting in South Africa, you could see that how much that you can see the delight on their face. Write a book on that delight, you can't write. You can't write. So that is why experience, yes. Now here is the real hitch there. Why Narada gives that Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam? Because ordinary experiences you cannot explain. Like for example, I give you some sweet to eat, and say how nice it is. You can say that best experience is wonderful, beautiful. Beyond that, you can't do anything. Similarly, sunset. Lovely sunset. Particularly when you go to Kanyakumari, waiting there for the sunrise. That many times we have done that, and then you are waiting there on that jetty, and then suddenly sun comes up. Wow, same sun comes up, round, exactly same side, it comes up every day. It is. But what is that expression about that? Experience of it. Even though it is same thing, even though it is something, but experience is something which is extraordinary. You cannot put it in the words. Only we can say that we enjoyed the wonderful sunrise and the Kanyakumari. What in Kanyakumari? I experienced the sunrise even in Falcon City also. You can put it down. Because basically that you don't understand the beauty of it. See, the child first time gets up and walks. Mother's joy is unbearable. And immediately she calls husband and wants to give that exciting message. And then secretary picks up the phone and says that give the phone to the boss. Boss is busy. I have to talk to him. Now he says that he's busy, he will not talk to him. See? No, it's very urgent, you give it to him. You give it to him. And then that says, guess what happened? Next thing. And every guess will be only negative. Guess what happened? Oh, something wrong happened. No. Something about Munna. Did he put the hand in the fire? See, you are expecting something positive, is something negative, the other side, because he is intellectual. There's something positive. He says, I just can't think of anything positive. But anyway, tell me what it is. Okay. Promise that in the evening we are going for a movie and then dinner and all those things. Yes. Yes, okay. Tell me what it is. Munna started walking. You also walk, we also walk. Everybody is tired of walking. Everybody in the world is walking. But Munna walking is something different. Anirvachhaniyam. See, this is very important is that Nirvachana belongs to the intellect level. It can't even guess what is happening there at the experience level. That's why Anirvachaniyam Premaswaroopam, because even small little simple thing like a sunrise, you cannot explain it. Something which is very common, you cannot explain about it. How can you explain something like love that happens? Premaswaroopam. Love is something which is so extraordinary. There are three extraordinary things that happen. One is the birth, other is the death, and third is life. Love. Love is, because why love is so important? Because in love, both birth is also there, death is also there in one single unit. The same experience, birth is also there, death is also there. In life, when you are in the state of love, you see that spring springs, life grows up. But at the same time, love is where that your ego dissolves. Death is there. Biggest of the death is the death of ego. And that happens only in the case of love. That's the only case where both positive and negative just culminate at that particular point. That's like a pinnacle in the life. That's why these are the three things which are the experiences that we have. Extraordinary. Death anyway that you can't explain anything because you're not there. That's a big relief. We are complained about death, but death is a wonderful relief actually.
What is the difference?
Bhava is something which is basically that, right. Bhava is something which is connected with your experience. So, Swabhava is my own experience. Like for example, my Swabhava is the way that I do an activity. That's what is my Swabhava. It is coming from within me. My Swarupa means myself. Myself is Swarupa. That's why in the beginning, there is Patanjali Sutras gives that particular sutra saying that Vritti Sarupya Mitaratraha. That's what it is. That means there are four steps that are there. Then it becomes Swarupa. You identified with that, you become that. That's what basically, first thing is that Samipya, that means you close to it. Then Sayujya, then you depend on that. There is that Sarupya, that you become. Like liquor, the way Samipya, first of all you hate it, then you go with him. And slowly then you are given to liquor, that's what is called as Sayujya. And third is Sarupya, that means between you and liquor there is no difference. So, This is what essentially the way that Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam. The limitation of the senses, which is experiencing, is something. The senses experience because senses are limited, therefore they experience. Simple idea is that look, eyes cannot see if only eyes have the power to see. Our eyes are restricted to see certain band of light, then only that you could see that. So many disables are there. Out of all those disables that are there, only a small band of disables is allowed to enter into your ear, you hear. Otherwise, it's filtered. So that means your senses themselves filter an experience which is supposed to be extraordinary. It is like the way that you are looking through the sky through your window. Sky is unlimited. Your window is limited. Your senses are like limited. And there also you see that eyes cannot hear, ears cannot see. Each sense has got its own information like that. So therefore, how can you expect that your experience, your expression is given by something of an experience which is beyond all these things? Therefore, in ordinary case also that Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam. Anirvachaniyam, in many experiences, it is like that. Not only that, in fact, the next sutra comes one more thing very close to it. Premaswaroopam Mukha Swadanavatu. Mukha Aswadanavatu. Actually, all right, I am not trying to explain somebody else's experience. I am trying to explain my own experience. I have experienced dumb. So, a dumb cannot explain because dumb has no sensory organ to explain to it. But that's not the idea there. Though the literal meaning may be the dumb, but it is not the dumb. Actually, what happens is that the sensory organ, which is the mouth, can only eat sweet, and expression also comes from the mouth. So I'm not asking somebody else's experience. Your own experience you explain to me, because you ate sweet, so you explain about the sweet. I'm not asking anybody, I'm asking the mouth itself. All right, if the eyes are seeing something, then I'm explaining mouth to explain about it. Then mouth cannot explain, that's a different issue. But here the same senses have, your mouth is eating the sweet. You mean to say that it cannot explain? That means to say you did not experience the sweet? See, this is what a logician's question is. If you cannot explain it, that means to say you are not experienced. You are simply giving a, just a idea like that, but otherwise you are not really experienced. Just because that you cannot have an expression does not mean you did not experience. A simple child, you can see that child does not have much language, but his experience is so extraordinary. But for everything, he uses only a couple of words that he knows, nothing beyond that. At least the child speaks mumbling words, a couple of things. But a dog tail wags, that's all. What can you explain about that? So here, at least the same mouth which is experiencing, and the same mouth is supposed to be explained. In spite of the fact that the experience belongs to the same mouth, mouth cannot express. Not because that inability of expression, inability of the same sensory organ, but it is basically the gap between the expression and the experience is so big. Unbelievable level of expression that is there. It's such an extraordinary, wonderful experience. The love experience is Mukha Swadanavatu. Even a person who went through that experience of love, if somebody else says that I am also in love with somebody, he cannot understand that. You see, how can you experience that? For me, yes, I got this experience, it's a different thing, but you cannot experience that. See, even a person, that's what it, husband and wife, who married out of totally love and love relationship, and the child comes back and says, I'm in love with somebody. Said, no, you can't believe that. Because you don't accept that. Anirvachaniyam Premaswaroopam Mukha Swadanavatu. It can't be expressed, it can't be explained. That is what the idea of the limitation of it. You mean to say that he doesn't have an expression? This is what Arthur Koestler, that is the materialistic philosophers say, that there is nothing that you can think of outside this world as an experience. Whatever that can be expressed is whatever that is there. Whatever that is expressed is that's what is Descartes' idea also. Descartes says that whatever that you cognize, that's what you express. You say that other than that, there is nothing exists. The big danger. That means to say, if you do not accept this, you cannot accept your dreams. You cannot accept your imagination. You cannot accept any of those things which are experience of yours. It's not given an expression. When you give an expression, that's a different thing. But you deny. You may have dream, but the other's dream you can deny it. You see? As I said, that others love you deny. Two people in the mental hospital were conversing, and then last time I saw one fellow said to the other, just so horrible. Days have become so bad. What is that? See, look at this way. How much the science has really grown in a wrong way. What happened? See, look at this. The mental psychology department developed, and they put everybody into the mental hospital as a patient. What? Where? You said, look at the way that they put Gandhi in the prison. Like that is mad. Mental hospital. Immediately they said, who said that Gandhi? Where? Where he is? He said, no, I'm here. Oh, who are you? I'm Gandhi. Oh, who said you are Gandhi? I said, God himself appeared in my dream last night and told me that I'm Gandhi. And this man laughs. Ha, forget about it. Why? I never came into your dream. Himself to be God. So you can't believe in that. But you mean to say that he has no experience? He has an experience because the same person, Moga Swadanavatu, give him a sweet, he cannot say what is sweet like. But give him a real hot stuff, then you can see that he abuses without words. Experience is there. Experience is always there with us. Moga Swadanavatu. And this particular experience that we have is what kind of an experience it is? It's beyond all the gunas. It doesn't have any one particular guna. That's why next sutra, Gunarahitam. It is not connected with any guna. It can be, when it say Gunarahitam, it means to say, what is that can be without any guna? See, the idea is that without any guna, what can be there? Brahman is without any guna. So therefore it is Brahman experience. But that's not the way that he is wanting to let us to understand here. When we say Gunarahitam, that means it can express in any guna that can be possible. That's why the experience of love can be in a Rajasic way, Sattvic way, Tamasic way. It can be there depending upon various individuals. Depending upon your individual nature, guna, it expresses. Therefore, it is Gunarahita. Bhakti, it's always like that. It can adapt any guna that's possible. The God concept is something which is extraordinary. It can accept any guna. Like, for example, somebody who is Rajasic and his God is a Rajasic way. They think of God in a Rajasic. Somebody is Tamasic, Tamasic way. But then the Bhakti is something which is extraordinary. The concept of God, the relationship with God is something which is extraordinary. One day in Prashanti, usually that Prashanti is always thinking of research and doing the data, taking the data, this and that, and all that. Sometimes I get annoyed with all that particular thing because everything they get from the data. So somebody did some, and that too, some magic, spiritual, like walking on the cinders, walking on the fire. Walk on the fire walking. So we'll have to take the test of that. And then like this, there were several things that they were doing. So fire walking and all. Now somebody said that Shelley was also there along with us in the car. And then we were discussing, oh, they put some nails through the tongue and all that. Oh, we should see, and then blood also will not come. Wow, why? We should actually test and find out what is the significant and all those things. We were talking. So when can we do it? What can we do it? How we can do it? Like that they were thinking. Then somebody said in the group, that there is something like that happening in Jatra, somewhere in some village, about 40 miles away from Bangalore. So let's go to that Jatra there, they're doing it. So we go there, we'll see that. Okay. Then we'll ask the driver. So will you come? Because we want to go for that. He said, no, sir, I cannot come because that I am on leave. Just weekend I'm on leave. You can take the week on the next weekend, but you have to go for that. You have to go for doing some experiment and all that. Therefore, we want you to come. He said, no, I can't come. I can't take next week. Only this week I will take. Why? Is it because this week is the week that there's some jatra happening in our village, and then I'd participate in that. What village? Is it the same village? We did not hear a Gandhi. What do you go there for? He said something. I said, buy a biga hacks for then put the lock in the mouth. Said, what do you mean by putting the lock in the mouth? I said, buy a biga. Then he explained that what is meant by that. It is that you put a nail through and through, and then you put that and lock it. And then you are going to do that? He said, yeah, I'm going for that. Wow, what we were talking about something, and then you say, okay, we'll go with your village, or you want to see that. So we went to that village, and then later on they also came to Prashanti, and then they do all this kind of things. And what happened, you see, one of the fascinating things was that there were some 10, 15, 20 volunteers were there. They're all from the villages. They would sit down and the ecstasy kind of a thing. And then you take a coconut and break it on his head. The coconut breaks into two. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Four coconut on the head. What will happen to that head? And then second fellow comes, third fellow comes, second fellow. Everybody is doing that. My God, and then we took him to the lab and found out what happened to the skull. Nothing happened. It's all fine. How did it happen? All these things. Similarly, somebody putting through the nail and somebody, all those things. These are all tamasic practices. But then their bhakti, tamas, will give you that ability to understand all those things. Walking on the fire, walking up and down and all those things, they are so easy. All that happened. So it can do it.
Why you are saying it is tamasic, not rajasic?
It's not, because basically the body is grounded into themselves. You see, stone will not get affected if you put a hole through the stone. It is like that. So these are the practices which there are rajasic practices.
Which will come under rajasic?
People who go around the temple round and round for almost like, somebody was, I've seen in Tirupati temple going around the temple, rolling 108 times. Huh? Yeah, so many temples that they do. Yeah, Mantralaya also they do. So all that Rajasic practices. Rajasic practices basically that you are continuously doing an act. And this is not only in our culture, every culture it is there. So these are all the things which are there. Sattvic, it can also. So therefore, what happens is that your love can take up any form, tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic kind of a thing. It may not agree with me because my nature is different. But I have to accept that when it is there. People see doing that. So this is what is guna rahitam, not without kamana rahitam. This phrase we need to understand. Actually, at that point of time, do they have anything in their mind that they would like to have it? No. They just want to do that. It's not for the sake of any wanting something that they do it. See, the moment that you say, I want something for doing something, so want something, that means actually prema degenerates into kama. So that is why he says that kamana rahitam. At that point of time, there is no desire to have something. They want to achieve something, they desire something, and then people should appreciate. Nothing is there in them. In fact, we don't even know who came, and then each had 10 coconuts we broke and all that. Actually, they they made me to sit down to see that, check whether this coconuts are fresh without any one or two coconuts you can break, but you can't make hundreds. 2 bags full of coconuts, 2, 3 bags full of coconuts. Okay. So, something which can happen. So, Gunarahitam, Kamanarahitam. See, why this is a very important thing, this Kamanarahitam. When prema degenerates, it becomes kama. And kama, is basically that you need something at the material level, progress, material level cognition. Love for the sake of material cognition, when you take it, it is kama. And we have seen the example of how Radha has shown that rising above that level. She does not want to possess Krishna, and she wanted to rise above that level. Possession is in the kama. There is no possession in the case of prema. When the possession is not there, that's what is kamana rahitam. And when that kamana rahitam, downward flow is not there, then it goes in the upward direction. That's what is pratikshana vardhamana. It only goes in the upward direction. Vardhamanam goes only. It is like a fire. See, when it is hidden inside the firewood, it drops down. And the fire manifests as fire, it only goes in the upward direction. Prana within us only goes in the upward direction, then it becomes Kundalini. Yes. When the prana goes in the upward direction, we call this Kundalini. So that's what it is. When it is called downstairs, it doesn't go upwards. But then with the sadhana, it goes in the upward direction. This is what is essentially Gunarahitam, Kamana Rahitam has to be characterized by pratikshana vardhamana. And when it goes in the upper direction, the downward forces always is separated. Earth, fire, water, etc., etc. They are all separated. The separation takes place. Vibhakti takes place downwards. Upward is only bhakti. That's why it is called as pratikshana vardhamana avichinna. It is avichinna. Vichinna means separation. Vichinna means a differentiation. Avichinna is integration. Avichinna. See, every word he wants to make sure that he properly qualifies that. Avichinnam, sukshmataram. Now, this is what the idea. One is called as Sthula, and the other is Sukshma. And beyond that, Sukshma is supposed to be Sukshmataram. Then it is not down, but it is upwards. Sthula and Sukshma, and then what is Sukshmatara? Is Karana. That's what is Karana. Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana. And Karana is the actually state of Brahman. Atmasthiti. So, see, look at the way that how it brings about. First of all, that Anirvachhaniyam Premaswaroopam, that means to say, whatever that intellect level is there, it is something which is beyond that. It's beyond that. Very clearly, far beyond that. And then he says, Gunarahitam. That means to say, there is one level where the gunas are there. It can adapt any guna, but it is beyond any gunas. Gunarahitam. In fact, that's also another thing. Premaswaroopam. Gunarahitam, when it says that, we can see that various people at various levels, they have, even the prema at their own, the guna level that they manifest. I don't know whether you came across that way, but there were tribals, Lambani in our place, they were there. And the Lambanis, when they get together, the beautiful way that they express their joy is they cry together. Oh, together they cry. Such a loud cry. Once they all, our own worker Lambanis were there, and they were also, you must have seen Raichur, it was common. Hey, they get together and cry. I said, I was just thinking that what happened, what is wrong happened, somebody died. No, we're all happy. That's why they're crying. Expression is that way. Love expression is that way. Gunarahitam kamana. And you can see some people, Rajasic people, when they are in love, they beat you. You have to be careful with them. They'll be slapping on your back. It's so bad that you might get hurt. Rajasic way. So Guna manifests, your love manifests in that way, don't mistake that. So that's why Gunarahitam, Kamana Rahitam, Pratikshana Varthamanam, Avichinna Sukshmataram. So Sukshmataram, Sukshma, Stula, Sukshma, and then Karma is Sukshmataram. Anubhava. That is where he says that, he says in the earlier sutra, he has given Atma Rama. You become Atma Rama yourself. You have come to that level where you are the creator yourself. That is where basically that Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyata, it becomes one. Ananyata, Anyatva not being there. So Gunarahitam, Kamana Rahitam, Pratikshana Varthamanam, Avichinna Sukshmataram, Anubhava Rupam. Because that you are at that level, at that moment when you are in the state of love, Tat Prapya, Tadeva Avalokayati, Tadeva Chintayati, Tadeva Chunoti, Tadeva Bhashayati, Tadeva Chintayati. Often people call that Tadeva is actually God alone. It is not God alone. Basically, you look at everything out of love only. You cannot see anything out of other than love. Tadeva Chintaya, Tadeva Avalokayati, Tadeva Avalochana. Avalochana means actually the way that you perceive, your perception is Lochana is actually you are seeing. And Avalochana is the way that you wish to see, and then that is how you look at it. Your choice in that. It is not neutral, it's positive. He looks at everything in a positive way. That's why we say in that mantra, Sarve Bhadrani Pashya. Your Avalochana should be like that. So, actually, this another important idea is that Lochana belongs to the world outside. From the eyes. Lochana is eyes, and then whatever that you perceive, that's Shana. So you are involving in the world. So Avalokayati, actually you are involving in the world like the way the world is there, like anybody else involved, you also involve in the world. But then your involvement in the world is such a way that you are only seeing the love in this world also. That's why I have given that example of Prahlada. Everybody is seeing the Bhikara Swarupa of Prahlada, of Narasimha. And they ask Prahlada, where is the Bhikara Swarupa? Is not there. So I can see Narayana standing there, wonderful, peaceful Narayana. Baba, you look at him, peaceful Narayana, but for us, it's like that. So you are Avalokayati. That is what your Lochana is something which is important. So Tadeva Avalokayati, Tadeva Shrunoti. Shrunoti is basically what enters it. Enters into you. Because Shravana is that what enters into you. You see what enters into you is only what is positive. Tadeva Shrunoti. Shravana, from that it comes as the Shravana. So you hear only something which is nice, which is positive. You filter that. Your love filters that. So that the world becomes like heaven. Tadeva Shrunoti. Tadeva Bhashayati. Your transaction is only in both ways, that it shines and communicates only something which is positive. And Tadeva Chintayati. Whatever that is Chintana that is there, going on inside is only about the love, nothing else beyond that. So Tat Prapya Tadeva Avalokayati, Tadeva Shrunoti, Tadeva Bhashayati, Tadeva Chintayati. Now what happens is that when other than, there is nothing else other than love is there, that's what you are moving, whether it is you are hearing, you are involving in the world, whether you are talking in the world, everything is love. Then what happens is that the earlier example that I said, that in that process, what is happening is that You are constantly at the level of, from the level of rising from the level of complaint to tolerate, to accept, to see the divinity. That's where you can see the divinity in the world outside. Everything looks like God alone. Other than God, there is nothing else which is there. What else? Actually, logically also speaking, what else can be the base of this creation? Is it not divinity? We all say that. In fact, Advaita philosophy says nothing but Brahman. But then why can't we experience that? Few people here and there experience it, but we don't consider their experience from the point of view of experience. We take them from intellectual point of view. Unfortunately, that's what people do. Like, for example, Rishi, did he not mention that way? That his experience is something extraordinary. In fact, in the Ishavasya Upanishad, in the beginning itself, Rishi says, Isavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. He did not try to convince you. He's giving an expression of whatever that his experience is there. But then we have intellectualized that. See, this is where you don't rise to the experience, but you intellectualize it. He says that, oh, he means basically Ishavasya. He means only the Advaita philosophy. That means everything is Brahman. And the whole treatise you write on the first shloka of Ishavasya Upanishad, the whole treatise on Advaita philosophy. And then not only you write about Advaita philosophy, but then at that point of time, you also do all the khandana of Visishta Advaita and Advaita philosophies and all that. They are wrong. This is right. Like that, this is the somebody has given his experience. Take it that way. What should happen is that if somebody can experience that Ishavasya, everything, I should also experience that Ishavasya. Only why he should have an experience, I should also have the same experience. Similarly, another Upanishad which says that, you see, this duality that happens. We have seen in the Isha, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it says, Annavan Annado Bhavati, that means hunger and the food, separation. And hunger belongs to food. And food belongs to hunger. There is nothing else. The equation doesn't have third component there. It's only these two components. And then out of these two components is the supreme sense of satisfaction, Brahman. That's all the thing. So therefore, basically, and the moment that Rishi finds out that is the experience, then how beautifully gives an expression, how, Mahamanna, like that. But people read it so mechanically. Like the other also mentioned, I was sitting there feeling, wow, what a wonderful expression. But then nobody because nobody feels that way. Because you bring it to the intellect level, to the lower level, you cannot experience that. If you can really experience that, that's what is Tadeva Chintayati. Everything that you see, that Chintana of that aspect of it comes about. This is the idea that he wants about, in that at the highest level, prema level, it has the capacity to go in the only upper direction, and it is Gunarahitam, Kamanarahitam, Pratikshana Vardhamanam, Avichinnam, Sukshmataram, Anubhavaroopam, experience. And that Anubhava is, in fact, there is another sutra where Anubhavayati says that Anubhava comes from you, your own experience it is. And it's not only when you are in a puja room or temple, there obviously that you have it, but even otherwise also, a music program you can have it, a child playing that you can see that. In the day-to-day activity, you can find that experience. So you are having that experience of divinity everywhere around. And that's where you see Tadeva Avalokayati, Tadeva Chintayati, Tadeva Bhashayati. These things have to happen for us. That's what is the idea. Short of that are the other expressions that are given when it comes to the next level, where it involves into the gunas, because the transaction is in the world of gunas. So therefore, the moment it comes down to the expression level, he says that Gauni Trita, Gauni, people call it as the lower bhakti, lower part. That is Parabhakti, this is a Gauni Bhakti. This is what they separated. Parabhakti, Gauni Bhakti, in my view, they are not like hierarchical. They are hierarchical. Experience inside is the Parabhakti. But expression outside is a Gauni Bhakti. Because expression is always in the world outside, according to the gunas. So therefore, Gauni Bhakti is an expressed Bhakti. Parabhakti is an impression inside that we have. So he makes, and we also seen earlier that there is a gap between the impression and expression. So therefore, now he comes to the expressed aspect of it. That is what is Gauni Tritha. Guna Bhedat, Artadi Bhedatva. So there are the two things. It is not Guna Bheda, that means three gunas are there. Artata also there are Bheda. So Artata belongs to my expression outside, and then Guna belongs to the world outside. Outside world is full of gunas. Three gunas are there. So according to the Guna, Artata also differs. Now, my own transaction in the world outside, that's what is the expression. And in that my transaction also, I've been used to the transaction in the Gauni way, in a particular way, in one of the gunas way. So therefore, naturally, my expression of even bhakti also comes in the form of artata. My artata is also according to the guna. And we have such an extraordinary, wonderful experience about this artata. And does not mean that it is anything lesser important or more important. In the case of, Vedara Kannappa story, that's a beautiful story where it shows that the Kannappa was supposed to be a hunter. And then he only deals with killing the animal, blood, this and that. And then he eats the flesh. So naturally, he is God also, he eats the flesh. In fact, it's the same flesh and all those. I remember that when we went to Bali people still they smoke. And so therefore in every house that they offer the prasada to God, and then the coconut is there and then fruit is there, and then instead of the match, the dope stakes, they put a cigarette there. God also takes cigarette. Every house in front of God that they offer cigarette.
They offer flesh also.
They put?
They offer non-veg also.
Non-veg also, yes. They offer non-veg also, but cigarette also they offer. And fish also they offer. So all those things that they offer. Because that's what is their guna, whatever that they take is the same thing that they do. So in the artata, offer maybe those things. That's what in the better Kannappa, he was supposed to be a hunter. So his expression is also that way. So he went to the Shiva temple. And then he saw that Shiva's mukti was, somebody put the fresh flowers, etc., etc. But the fresh flowers will not stay fresh for long. They immediately wither away. So therefore he went there, he said, all this dirty move around. And then put nicely, covered it with blood and the flesh and all those things. And then next morning a Brahmin comes, says, what is this? Who spoiled my good Shiva? He curses him and all those things and cleans the whole place with the flowers and leaves and all that. And then he dances, shows the expression of his love. Sattvic way, because he is sattva. And then afterwards, the evening that fellow comes, and then he removes all those things and he becomes so angry. So, who is that who's spoiling all those things? He complains to Shiva, saying that you see all those things happen. Somebody is against you like this, doesn't love you. Now don't complain him. Before that, you actually see how great bhakta he is. Wait and see. And then evening comes and all that, he puts all those things. And then now he's watching and then he says, what is that? In fact, Shiva, I thought, he will give an answer, but other than that, he wanted not only, I was already, hating because all that I have to do it, but now I'm actually seeing somebody doing it. And he was actually inside, he was burning. But then at that time, suddenly he saw that Shiva's eyes bleeding. Kannappa, he says, takes his eye to replace that eye. The eye was also, another eye started bleeding. When he put his foot on his eye, because he might miss it, I take his eye, second eye to put in. Look at the devotion that he has. So the devotion may be tamasic, but Shraddha is not there. Shraddha belongs to the Prema. Prema and Shraddha. but the practices can be governed. So your artata can be governed, but Shraddha behind the artata is the same. That's why he says that Gauni Trita Vadabhedat Arthadibhedatva. But for a common man to look at it, Uttarasmat, Purva Purva, Shreyaya Bhavati. Why he said that way is that there is one important aspect of it is that your artata, it is not only that what you feel inside, but what for that you have love for God. Even that can also vary. Because somebody might have the sattvic kind of an artata, somebody might have rajasic kind of an artata, tamasic kind of an artata. Sattvic kind of an artata is where I want heaven, I want freedom, I want this, I want that kind of a thing. That means you are looking for all those sattvic kind of an achievement out of it. The second fellow is more of, wealth, this, that, and all rajasic kind of vanity. And third fellow is a sattvic kind of an achievement. Tamasic kind of an achievement. What is tamasic kind of an achievement? Let that fellow die, let this thing happen, let this calamity. Something like that in a negative way. In all these three cases, what is the most important thing is that the focus is that you surrender yourself, your ability to do it. You offer it to the God. So therefore, don't look at even this kind of a thing. What is that artata behind it? Because that every artata also shows that you are surrendering yourself to the divinity higher forces. That will help you. It will help you. But then if you are surrendering for the sake of lot of negativity, very difficult to come out of it. That's why the lowest level, better than that is Rajasic. That's what we have seen. That people who are born into the Kshatriya, Rajasic, easily come out of it because that it's enough of all that, Rajasic activity. That's the reason why you see that Buddha was a king. They came out of it. And all the Tirthankaras were also Kshatriyas, but then they came out of it because it was so much difficult. So therefore, actually that they come out. There's another important aspect is that the prema, love, can also manifest in the form of karuna. As I said, that another thing. That's why people who have come out of violence, they took to karuna. That is the main thing that they are doing. Buddha teachings were about karuna. Jaina's teachings were also about the karuna because they have taken up. They have not taken prema. But that form that they have taken. So because Kshatriya, that they like that way, they took it that way. That's what has become very important. Very important. Anyway, there's one. I don't know whether I've seen that. I've told you earlier. In Turkey, a lot of people have taken Hindu names and all that. So I also give the name explanation behind that name, why that name and all this. So one group have come, some 30 people. We were going to Prashanti. Nagaratna was sitting next to a girl. And I was sitting at the back seat, and then she asked her, "What's your name?" The Turkish girl gave her name, Turkish language. Then she also said, "I also have a Hindu name, and my name is Karuna." And she asked, "Oh, you have a very nice name, Karuna. So when did you have it? How long did you?" They said, 3 years ago, I got this name. Guruji has given me that name. So I got that name. But then she didn't stop at that level. She said, ever since I got that name, I never got angry with anybody. It changed my whole character itself. One name can change the whole perception of somebody. That's an extraordinary thing. That Karuna has that value. The moment that is Karuna, then you cannot think of anything negative about it. That's what Premas, another requires. Actually, Karuna is a strength in itself. So, compassion, you can only compassion, you can have a compassion because you have a strength. That's why all these, Buddha was a Kshatriya. All the Tirthankaras were Kshatriyas. So therefore, actually, what the earliest Tirthankara, that was the Neminatha. He was actually Krishna's cousin brother. And they're all Kshatriyas. So therefore that they had Karuna as the main thing. By Jainism, Buddhism, they talk about Karuna because that they're Kshatriya. Kshatriya have power, strength, confidence. That's why they have taken that. So Karuna has the strength behind it. Practice. Stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So well, I think next week we may not have it. So let's see. After that, either I'll come back or maybe some other place. Online.
Any doubts? Nobody has any doubts.